So, good morning, class. I'm going to discuss example number 1 on how to make a problem, a linear programming problem or model, and then answer it using graphical solution. And then I'm also going to teach you how to double check it using Excel. So first is you have this problem. A milk plant manufactures two types of products. So obviously your variables will be products type A and type B. And obviously they sell it to a profit of 5 for type A and 3 for type B. That already means it is maximization of profit. So when we say maximization, it's always profit. If it's minimization, the given will be cost. So each product is processed in two machines, meaning you have two constraints, machines G and machines G and H. So they discussed here that the constraint one is that for the processing time on machine G, it takes 1 minute for type A and 2 minutes for type H. Then for type B, 1 minute for G and 1 minute on H. So to make it easier, especially on creating the constraints, you can do a tabular way, no? So how to do it in tabular? Let's open Excel. So later on, the Excel will really help you in solving your LP models. So this is for the constraints. So we have for type A and type B. And then this is for the constraint one, which is machine G and machine H. So obviously you have a profit. Diba, it says here your profit is 5 for A and 3 for B. So that means that is the coefficient for the first variable and then 3 for the second one. And then type A requires 1 minute of G. So for type A, 1 minute of G, and for type, and 2 minutes for H. So 2 minutes, all in type A, no? And then for type B, that's 1 minute of G, and another 1 minute of H. So it was also discussed here that machine G is available for not more than. So meaning to say, you cannot exceed 6 hours and 40 minutes. Since your A and B holds values in minutes, dapat your availability should also be in minutes. So you should have one unit of measure. So if this is minute, this should also be in minutes. So 6 hours. So 6 hours times 60 minutes, because there is, in an hour there are 60 minutes. There is 60 minutes for it. So we'll just have to multiply plus the 40. So meaning to say you have 400. That explains this figure, no? And then the B is 8 hours. So 8 times 60 plus 20 minutes. So that explains 500. Okay? And then, of course, we are going to find the most or the maximum profit. So the goal here is that we have to figure out how many type A's and type B are we going to make, knowing that they have the following constraints. Okay, so if we're gonna do, so therefore, if type A, we let type A as x1 and we let type B as x2. But please be careful, do not say that x1 is only type A or x2 is only type B. It should be the number of products to produce, okay, for type A, and then the number of products to produce for type B. So in making a linear programming model, you should have assumptions. So you have to put let x1 be, let x2 be, then let z as your profit. So your profit here is z. Okay? And then after that, you put the objective function. So the objective function is maximization of the profit, which means for every one product produced for type A, that is equivalent to 5 peso profit. And then for every one type of product produced for type B, there is a profit of 3 pesos. Then subject to, since 1 minute is allowed or is used to process type A, that means X1, whatever number of products you produce for X1, it will just be multiplied to the 1 minute processing time, which will dictate us that it should not be greater than 400 because your available hours is only 400. Okay? So that is why the symbol is less than or equal to, because it could be equal to 400 but not more than 400. So there was a question by one of your classmates, ma'am, if it's maximization, should it be always less than? More likely it will be less than because you have to you have to have limits in terms of your available, since constraint man ang term niya. Aside from that, if it's minimization, more likely there is greater than because we will not have answers like 0 and 0. Although sometimes 0, 0 is part of your choices or options. But of course, in reality, you should not have answers na 0 or 0. Meaning, wala mo gibuhat. Wala mo i-produce, right? So, you have to have greater than, or with the term at least 2 products, just like your problem number 2 in the courseware. Okay, so these are your constraints, and the x1 comma x2 greater than or equal to 0 is your is what we call the non-negativity constraint. When we say non-negativity, that means your answer should not be negative because you will not produce negative A and negative type B, diba? So negative 5 of type A or negative 6 of type B. So that means all your answers are only on the first quadrant in the Cartesian plane. Okay? So if we're going to plot that, to answer that already, so you have this problem already. Let's just copy this one. So this is now what we call the linear programming model, and please do not forget your let. So let x1, x2, and z. You have to really specify each. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do is, since it's graphical solution, meaning to say we have to draw a graph. So as mentioned, your graph should only be on the first quadrant. So I hope you still remember what quadrants are. So that means this will be your first quadrant. Oops. Right, so this is now your first quadrant. So first is, you have to draw your line 1. So your constraint 1 becomes your first line. Okay, so for line 1, that is, you have to translate this into equality because you cannot create a line if it's inequality, no? So this becomes x1 plus x2 is equal to 400 so that we can create a line. So this is your line 1. Or let's just call this as line G, no? Since it's for machine G. And then for line H, that's 2x1 plus x2, but equal na siya to 500. Okay. Now, what we're gonna find now is your or for easier access, we can actually not call this as x1 and x2, but x and y, no? So that you can readily put that into, so let's just call this x and y, so that you will not have a hard time to determine who is x and y, especially on the graphical. But I suggest when we go to simplex, which is your third week courseware, you need to familiarize with x1 and x2 because you will have to have more variables. Okay, so meaning to say, guys, graphical solution is only applicable for two variables. If it's greater than two variables, simplex is to be used. Okay, so after that, we are going to draw a line. So x1, okay, sorry, we have to make this as x and y. X and y. Okay, x and y. Alright, so we are going to find the value of x and y in the line. Okay, we find or we create the line through intercepts. So we let x first as 0. So if x is 0, that means y is equal to 400. Correct? So if atong tabunan si x, y is 400. Same goes to, so that means that's 0, 400. Correct? And then if y is 0, so atong tabunan, x is equal to 400. Correct? So x is 400. So that means that's 400, 0. Sorry. 400, 0. Alright. So if it's 400, 0, let's just say each line, so this is 0, this is 100, this line is 100, 200, 300, 400. So let's just put this part as 400. And then same goes here, 0, 100, 200, 300, 400. So let's add one more. Okay, so that means 0, 100, 200, 300, 400. So this is 400. This line is 400. Okay, so meaning we have to connect those two lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we connect this line to that line. That will be your line G. So let's just assume that line G is blue. Alright, so that's line G. Next, still using intercepts. So if we let x as 0, y is what? 500, right? Okay, so that means that's 0, 500, no? For your points. And then if we let y be 0, so if y is 0, x is equal to 500 divided by 2, which is 250, correct? So that means that's 250, 0. Okay, so 0, 500. So nadiri si 500, no? 1 point more. Nadiri si 500. And then si 250 is 0, 100, 200 man siya. So in between here, this is your 200. No? Ilang yun na to siya ma-exact point because we're using Excel. Okay, so I'm gonna add another line. So this is 500 and the center of here is that one. So let's use orange as your line H. Okay, now after that, you are going to create a feasible region. Of course, do not forget your non-negativity constraints. That means that's 0, 0. No? So this point. Okay, going back to your constraints, ingon siya, it should not be greater than 400. So if we're going to shade this area, so ako lang i-draw, inani, no? So for line 1 or line G, for line G, less than 400. So meaning, this area. Okay? This area. So, kung ako i-drawing, kani nga area. Alright? This area. Then, for line H is, of course, this area, no? Less than man. Inequality man siya. So, less than. So, for line G, this one. And so, you're going to really shade, okay? And then, for line H, this one. Now, the areas which, say tawag na to, nagsapaw, no? Magsapaw na gani na sila, meaning to say, those two constraints have been met. Obviously, this area, the points in this area do not answer or do not meet constraint H. Also, this point, from this point, do not meet point G. Therefore, the points from this area and this area are not part of your solutions. Gets? So, that is why we are going to draw a feasible line. Now, unsa man na say, feasible region. Therefore, your feasible region is this one because of the 0, 0. So, let's use green. And then, of course, this area here. So, we're actually creating a feasible region already. And then, kanira na mga area ang possible answers because they meet both constraints. Okay? So this is now what we call your feasible region, the ones inside the green lines, because they both fit to the constraints G, H, and of course the non-negativity constraint, no? So in short, your solutions are all the points within this green region. Katning nagsapaw na mga lines. In graphical solution, there was a word mentioned there that we call it the corner point solution method, meaning to say the corner points of this region actually gives us the maximum profit. So that's a corner, we call that as corner point solution method. Alright? So that's corner point solution method. So that means we are going to name these corner points. So let's have corner point number 1, this one. That's 0, 400, right? 0, 400. Okay, this one is 0, 0, correct? And then this one is 250. So that's very important that you know how to read points. And lastly, there is a point here that is intersecting both line G and line H. And we need to find that one. So let's just call that as point, we have used X, Y, A, and B naman, no? So let's just say that's point, cannot say point Z also. Let's just say point C, no? So we have to find point C. So to find point C, it's the intersection man. Meaning to say, let's go back to our two lines. We can solve it through elimination method or substitution method. So any bisag unsa na ways that you can use. So the best or the easiest one is through elimination method. So if we want to eliminate one variable, let's just say we can easily eliminate y, no? So let's just do subtraction. So if we subtract So, that means, kung mag-subtract ta, x minus 2x, negative x, correct? Y minus y, of course, that's 0. So, na-eliminate na si y, no? 400 minus 500, that's negative 100. So, I hope you still remember elimination method. Okay, oops, sorry. So, we have to use apostrophe. Therefore, so, that means negative x equals negative 100. Therefore, x is 100. So, to get the value of y, substitute the value of x. So, 100. So, any of the two equations imong gamiton. So, x is 100. Therefore, 100 plus y equals 400. So, y is equal to 400 minus 100. Diba? Mo transfer si 100 to the other part. So, y is equal to, or to the opposite, to the other side. So, y is equal to 300. So, if you go back to your graph, somehow it's true, no? 100 and 300. So, di lang gid siya perfect because we don't have equal. Sige daw, let's create an equal koan be. Ato i-equal ilahang size.
So, let's see if it's really 100, 300, no? Yung size, di ba gini perfect atong graph? Okay, let's write lesser. Ayan, yung point na siya sa 300. So, somehow, your graph will already show. Oops. So, your graph says it's 100 and 300. So, your x is in the 300 and your y is in the 300. So, dapat dali unta dito sila magkita, no? Pero di na ito siya ma-perfect because of okay, let's move this one to 50 man siya dapat. 250. Naman siya sa 150. So, dali dapat ang 250. Yeah, diba? So, okay. Okay na. Mas accurate na gina siya.
So, as you notice, point C really is, point C is really, no? 100 ang x and 300 ang. Okay. So, mas kuan siya, mas katuuhan siya, no? Okay. Oops, hindi siya makita. I think we have to, hindi siya makita. Anyways, so that is point 100, 300. Okay, so we have now our fourth corner point solution. So, next thing that we have to do is, ano siya? Okay. Let's just use other parts, kay. So, after that, if you already have those x and y values, you get their profits. So, for the profits, that's, you just substitute the profit, the objective function, no? This is your objective function, 5x plus 3y. So, meaning, 5 times 0 plus 3 times 400. So, the profit is 1, 2. Of course, 0, 0, obviously, that's 0. Kana, 250 times 5 plus 0 times 3, no? So, 1 to 50. And then, oops, why do we have negative 100? Sorry. It's not negative 100. It's only 100. Did I say negative? Negative, manday ni diri, no? Maoday ni. Sorry. Dapat wala negative, kaya na negativity constraint, good. Diba? Because of the Excel manggod, automatically assumes that if it is with parenthesis sa accounting firms, it's negative. Anyways. So, that's 100 times 5 plus 3 times 300. So hopefully this is the answer. Okay, so since it is the most, it is the combination that gives us the most profit of 1/4. Therefore, our answer is we have to produce 100 units of type A and 300 units of type B with profit, with expected profit of, 1,400 pesos. Okay. Any questions so far? Hopefully wala, no? Hopefully it's understood. Alright? Okay. Next is how are we going to use Excel in solving this one, aside from solving it using graphical solution. I'm going to require you only the graphical for this courseware, but in the next coursewares to come, you have to do the manual in the Excel. Okay, so how to use Excel? First is we're going to create an area for type A and type B. This is our cell, which will have different values depending on what will be the answer. And then you write your constraints. So for constraints, of course, don't forget your objective function. So we will have to write objective function. So what was your objective function, gani? Siguro we can have here, this is the PHP for profit. So for type A, that's 5 and then 3. So that whenever you want to change, you can just change the values, not necessarily your solution, no? I mean your formula rather. Sige, dari na lang para dili sila ma-move. So depende lang ninyo ha, how are you going to design your Excel. So we can write the objective function here. So therefore you have to process it. So 5 of whatever value is for A and 3 of whatever value is for B. So that is actually your objective function. No? This is your variables. Your changing variables. Alright. So after that, you write your constraints. So for G and for H, then we just have it as type A, type B, and then your symbol, and then your limits. So we have to put, by the way, aside from the symbol, we have to put the actual and the target, or the limits. You can have it as target. Alright, so you put here, so that is the use of the table, because you can just copy automatically the values, no? Because you have to put all here the coefficients of your mathematical model. So your mathematical model is 1, 2, 1, 1, 400, 500. So that goes here. But do not put it in the actual, put it in the target. And your symbols are less than or equal to. Less than or equal to. So for the actual, that means 1 for whatever value of A, you can do fix. So F and F4 plus, So 1 times here, F and F4 para ma-fix yan, no? Di na mo move. Plus here times F and F4 also para ma-fix, so that you can just drag this down. So di na to mga move. So 2 to this cell and 2 to this cell. If inig simplex guys, medyo daghan na magid kay mo og variables, you can put it here para mag-sum product na lang mo. Okay, although I'm going to teach you if it's going to be simplex. Alright, so you have already actual values. This will be changing later on as you solve. Now, hopefully, ang mugawas diri is 100 and 300 and 1/4, no? Because that is our goal. So, what we're going to do is we go to data and data analysis, solver. If wala pa mo ani guys, you go to file and then you go to options. And then when you go to options, you go to add-ins. And then sa add-ins, na kay gitawag dihag Excel add-ins, you go to go. And then you check analysis toolpack, VBA, and solver. So gamit kay ni ang solver for operations research. Alright? So, next is, you are going now to solve it through the solver. Your objective is this one. Mamani atong gi-solve for objective function. Okay? And then, of course, maximization profit, so that's why it's max. Your changing variables are the variables for x and y. Alright? Okay, enter. And then your constraints are, luckily, pwede rin nyo itagsa-tagsa, but luckily they have the same symbol. So you can just drag that one. So kanitanan. And then for the constraint here, kanisa both. So iyara na automatic. And add another one. Your answer should be non-negative. This is for the non-negativity constraint. So greater than or equal to 0. And please make sure that your answers are also integers. Nga naman, your answer should not be 1.1, 1.2. Though dili sila pwede continuous variable. They should be in value because you cannot produce 300.5 number of type A and so on. Okay. And then do uncheck that and change that to simplex LP. Solve. If there is no warning, meaning to say you have made correctly your Excel. Okay. So, nigawa si 100, si 300, ug si 1/4. So, that is how you're going to check if your graphical solution is correct. So, if you have questions, please comment down on this video. Thank you.